It is important. We are here at Alivio, and this is a very important day for all our moms and all our babies in the state of Illinois. No expectant mother, no pregnant woman should have to choose between having her baby and keeping her job. That's really what this law is all about. It's making sure that there are reasonable accommodations by our employers for our employees who happen to be women who are pregnant. The fact is that about 80% of the women of our state who are pregnant continue on their job until the very last days of their pregnancy. And it's important that our employers know by law that accommodations oftentimes are necessary for our pregnant moms. For example, there might be more opportunities to have water breaks or bathroom breaks. It might be a stool to sit on to rest. It might also be an opportunity to not have to lift heavy boxes at a particular short period of time. The bottom line is these are simple, common sense steps that can be made to make sure that we take good care of our moms, all of those who have babies to deliver. We want those babies to come forward healthy, and this is a very good way to have healthy moms and healthy babies. And I think it's also important to realize that this is really the best way to help families in Illinois. We want our families to be healthy from the start, and we also want our moms, when they are pregnant, not to have problems and troubles that disturb their pregnancy. You got to have peace of mind. And if you're on a job and you're worried that maybe I'll lose my job if I don't lift that heavy box, that is not the way to go in Illinois. What we want to do is make sure that all of our mothers who are working, all of our pregnant moms, get a fair shake on the job and don't have to choose between that job and having an opportunity to take good care of their baby-to-be. Now, I want to say the reason we picked this day to have this gathering, to talk about this law, is it happens to be Women's Equality Day in our country. And this law, I think, is a very, very important step for women's equality in our state, and hopefully it's a model for the whole country. It also relates to raising the minimum wage. About 60% of our workers in Illinois who would benefit from raising the minimum wage are women, oftentimes heads of household. Maybe the very same woman who is pregnant, making the minimum wage. We want to make sure that they get a fair shake in the workplace. A little bit later today, I'm going to go down to Springfield and I'm going to sign a bill dealing with pay equity to make sure that there's fairness with respect to the pay of women and men, and to make sure that our departments are keeping an eagle eye on that issue. But I think we should take a look at history in our country, in our state. It was in 1878, that the first bill was put into Congress for a constitutional amendment to allow women the right to vote. 1878. It didn't happen until 1920. That's a lot of 42 years later. On this day, in 1920, the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution was officially certified, and women in our country were given the right to vote. Now, my mother was born in October of 1917. So when she was born, her gender did not have the right to vote. And we had to do something about that in America. That's what America is all about. We're always trying to perfect things. We're not perfect. We know we're not perfect. But we know there are things that need reform, that need to be done in order to help people. And that's really what today's bill is all about. It's using the process of democracy, and with the leadership of women legislators in our state who led that charge. And I was on the floor of the House when the vote came. Mary Flowers, our sponsor. And she gave a stirring speech, a very stirring speech that came from the heart. And it was for all of our pregnant moms all across Illinois and across our country to make sure fairness was the rule of the day in the workplace, that reasonable accommodations for moms ought to be what every employer has to do under law.
The governor has said all that possibly could be said about this bill, but I need for you to put this in perspective. Current law, prior to the signing of this bill, only applied to peace officers and firefighters, women. Those were the only two group of women that was protected in state law. As a result of the governor signing this bill today, all pregnant women, woo! I'm looking at these babies here today, and if you can imagine that there was a possibility that one of them or both of them may not have made it, depending on the type of job that the mother had. Because a lot of women have miscarried and lost their children because their employer refused to make reasonable accommodations. They've lost their homes because their employers refused to make reasonable accommodations. That's not acceptable, ladies and gentlemen. No woman should have to suffer the indignation of losing her job, being disrespected, her unborn child unprotected, because an employer refused to make a reasonable accommodation. After today, they will all be highly respected and truly protected.
I have no idea what I could say that would top both the governor and a woman that I look up to so very much in the House, who's given such incredible service to the state of Illinois for so very long. And for those of us legislators that are new, you know, almost 80% of our body has less than 10 years of service. We look to those who have been fighting for decades. And I was proud to pick up the sponsorship of this under the leadership and under the guidance of Representative Mary Flowers. I was proud of that, seriously. I am a working mother. I have 3 children. And when I go to the state legislature, that colors almost every decision that I make, because I know what it is to worry about childcare. I know what it is to carry a baby to term. I know what it is to have a whole lot of more month left at the end of that check. It is sometimes a frightening experience for many people, and for women who are working, especially those in minimum wage jobs, who very often do not have paid maternity leave. They need their income for as long as possible, right at the time when a baby adds to the family budget. And for 60% of families across this country, the primary breadwinner is the mom. So if we allow ourselves to continue living in a day and an age where you still have women who are afraid to tell their employers that they're pregnant because they know what could possibly happen, their work hours unilaterally cut. Somebody else deciding that, you know, maybe you shouldn't do what it is that you're perfectly capable of doing. If I'm a cashier, I can still do that if I could just sit down. If I'm lifting boxes, I could do that if I could just lift something a little lighter. I need to be able to protect my family. This is a bill that, under the leadership of the governor of this great state, that protects all families. It is a bill that should unite people from all across the political spectrum. If you want to do things to support families, we need to stand up for the fact that in 2014, no woman should ever be in a position where she is having a pregnancy in fear, when she's doing the best she can to work to provide for the children she may already have, for the communities that they live in, for the extended families, for all the things that women do. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. We are at the center of almost everything, literally, of almost everything. And in that moment, you ought not be afraid. So because on Women's Equality Day, I will say that I'm proud. I'm proud of this state. I'm proud of this governor. I'm proud of my colleagues. I'm proud of the women who were brave enough to tell their stories so that we could document it. I'm proud of the women who sued. I'm proud of the people who fought. I'm proud of the work of the ACLU and the Reproductive Center, or Rights for Center. I'm proud of all the people who are in the struggle to make sure that in 2014 we are a more perfect union, that women do have a shot at equality, that everybody's in and nobody's left out. So, thank you, Governor.